And let's start talking about the history.
Well, we're going to talk history of fucking Shakespeare?
Yeah, so
Christ.
said to have been written, Lacey, shut up, between 1591 and 1595. And I'm sure I knew this before, but I was startled to learn this. He didn't invent these characters. They were around for hundreds of years in poems and novels. The Tragical History of Romeo and Juliet by Arthur Brooke, itself based on an Italian novella, and versions of the story had just been going around for hundreds of years.
You're going to tell me it's in the Bible.
Not in the Bible, but I realized, like, so he's just kind of a fan fiction writer.
You fucker.
It did make me realize, you know, there's people who say like all movies today are just pastiches of old movies, or
right,
we're making tributes. Everything is Stranger Things, or it's Ready Player One, or it's just we're remixing and we don't create anything new. But maybe we've always just done that.
Maybe there's only 4 stories.
Yeah, because even before then, there's like, go back to ancient Greece, there's like Pyramus and Thisbe from Ovid's Metamorphoses are these ill-fated lovers. It's just a trope that's basically as old as people.
Love is hard.
Love is hard.
You find someone you really, really like, and it's hard.
They have a movie about that, about how William Shakespeare didn't even write any of his plays because he could never read or write in general. And it's called Anonymous. It's actually a really good movie.
The Roland Emmerich movie, right?
I believe so. It's a really good one. It got mixed reviews, but I myself enjoyed it because it makes you really think, like, holy crap, maybe he really didn't write all these plays. He just stole them from somebody else.
I've never been a Shakespeare truther. I'm still not, but I like doing some research on him recently, realizing how fast he wrote, how prolific he was. I realized he must have been insufferable to be around. And I've always heard that Mercutio is the Shakespeare avatar.
Okay.
That's what he was like in real life. And he said he had to kill Mercutio midway through the play or else he would take over the play.
And everything that bad that happens is almost his fucking fault. And he fucking curses their houses. Fuck you, Mercutio. You have to be the star of the show, and then if you're dying, you have to kill everyone that's gonna follow you.
No, he's right.
Asshole.
These rich fucks are just feuding and shooting each other and blowing up gas stations. He was doing that.
He was shooting into the water. He was shooting into the air.
He's not blameless. I agree. He's not blameless.
But yeah, I mean, everybody else sucks.
Did you know that scene, the scene where he curses the house with the storm in the background, that was a real hurricane they shot it?
Yeah,
What?
I found that out. Yeah, it's like one of those fortunate things that happens when you're shooting. It's like the metaphorical storm is happening in the film as an actual storm hits.
I felt it was a bit on the nose. Honestly, I was like, oh, you might have stepped too far in this one.
Blame God, blame Poseidon.
I always do.
Or the X-Man Storm.
Okay.
All right.
Damn you, Halle Berry.
Screen adaptations. There are fewer movie adaptations, just straight adaptations of Romeo and Juliet than I thought. There's a 1936 version with Leslie Howard and Norma Shearer. The super famous one that I feel like everybody watches in high school from 1968.
The one that you have real big on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this one.
By Franco Zeffirelli.
I now realize I've seen it.
With Olivia Hussey from Black Christmas.
Watch your mouth.
Who goes, hello.
Yeah. Okay.
And you know, West Side Story is obviously an adaptation.
Oh, you're missing a couple. There's that James Franco one.
Yeah, there's been some ones in recent years, but I just wanted to hit the big ones, and then the 1996 version. Okay, Baz Luhrmann, born Mark Anthony Luhrmann, born and raised in Sydney. He is the most commercially successful Australian director of all time. Four of his movies are in the top 10 highest grossing movies in that country. And again, he's only made 6 movies, which I'm surprised.
That's a high batting average. If you're going to do 6.
Oh, just for like how long he's been in the consciousness, I just assumed he's made more, but I've basically seen most of his movies. His mother was a ballroom dancer. He trained as a ballroom dancer as a kid, and he turned that experience into a play called Strictly Ballroom, and then he adapted that as his feature film. I watched about half of this movie last night, and for the first 10 minutes, I was like, this is fucking great. It's funny. It's like it takes place in this like this tiny world of ballroom dancers and the petty tyrants who rule over it. And,
like Best in Show?
Yeah. I like a petty tyrant movie.
Yeah.
But then it very quickly turns into a sort of
a romance, a love triangle.
Well, a romance where like a nerdy girl with glasses gets picked to be the dance partner. He's like, why don't you take those glasses off?
Why don't you take those off, you crikey?
And then suddenly she's the hottest shrimp on the Barbie. And I turned it off, but like his style is right there from the beginning. His just coming on you, the viewer style is right there from the beginning.
Well, like, but a heavy romance is also part of his style, like a tragic, heavy, intense romance.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Elvis, but I heard he dies. So
yeah. After Romeo and Juliet, he makes Moulin Rouge, Australia, The Great Gatsby, The Get Down, and Elvis, most recently, which was a big hit for him. And we'll see what he does next.
you ain't nothing but a sandworm.
That's right. Fade Rotha. Okay, let's talk Leo. It was Leo Mania, you guys, in 96.
Oh, kill me with your love, Leo.
It's funny. I saw Titanic at age 10, and since then I've been a DiCaprio fan. But all my life reading film criticism, I've read people who don't like him, and I've always been like, what are you talking about?
This Boy's Life, Marvin's Room, Basketball Diaries, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, they're fucking banger after banger after banger.
And what I've always
Basketball
read them
Diaries
saying is
such a good movie.
It's so good. You got any coming in balls?
we'll probably cover it on the show one day for a good time. What the line I always heard was like, he's trying, like many pretty actors, he's like, take me seriously, I'm gonna get gross and dirty, take me seriously, and he was never convincing. And I never felt that way until I watched this movie.
This movie's a pretty movie, though.
I see it in like every time I watch Titanic, I'm like, okay, you're obviously the weakest actor here. I love him now. I love him as Rick Dalton. I love him in Killers of the Flower Moon. I think pretty young Leo is not. I'm finally seeing what all the people were complaining about.
He was still fucking his way through town. He was distracted.
And I realized, like, oh, the reason I reject Timothée Chalamet is why these older critics rejected Leonardo DiCaprio.
And you're a fool.
Get this baby off my screen.
He's really fucking good. I was not a full Chalamet until Dune 1 and 2, but Dune 2 sold me. He's fucking great.
Dune 2, I'm like, you're all right.
I'm impressed with that kid. I've
too.
grown to like a lot of his movies. I haven't watched Wonka yet, though.
I haven't either.
Yeah, me neither. I'm sure he's talented. I'm just saying, I realize now I'm becoming old man who yells at clouds, who sees like a young person. I'm like, get this fucking little kid off my screen.
I got a controversial take. I think he would have made a good Crow, the Crow guy. The way he looks in Dune 2, he's so emo and so tortured. He could have done a good job. Shut up. No one's asking you, Coda.
The Crow. I don't care about the Crow, so this doesn't.
This doesn't
This
bother
means
you.
nothing to me.
Okay, we're going to cut that out of the podcast. You want there to be pickets, rioters on our lawn?
We'll take it if I can get it.
What, buddy?
Jesus. A man died.
Yeah, that's sad.
Okay.
And I think it's interesting to think, like, in 96, DiCaprio's been on the map for a few years. He's on the cover of magazines. He's a tween idol. He's an Oscar nominee. And everybody's like, this is our next great movie star and thespian. But before this movie came out, he hadn't actually had a commercial hit. Like these movies, like This Boy's Life, Gilbert Grape, Basketball Diaries, Quick and the Dead, they were not commercially successful.
I didn't know What's Eating Gilbert Grape wasn't. Did it have a cult following? My movies usually do.
Yeah, but that comes in later years.
I know that.
But he got the Oscar nomination. And by the way, I'm sure that performance is so sensitive and holds up so well now. Him as an autistic child.
All right.
So yeah, the people kind of have it out for him. Like, okay, show us. Can you actually carry a movie and make it a big hit? So they cast him in the movie, and it's a big coup because he's at least very famous. But who's going to play Juliet? Well, to play Juliet, they of course hire Natalie Portman, aged 14. And
she was 14?
14 years old. And because Juliet is 13 years old.
I mean, I know that, but Claire Danes isn't.
Claire Danes was 17. Yeah, it's a good idea.
How old was Romeo?
21.
Okay, ew.
Was DiCaprio or Romeo?
DiCaprio.
21.
Ew.
And when they started doing rehearsals, they saw DiCaprio kissing this little baby, Natalie Portman, and said, this isn't going to work.
No, fucking great. Jesus, you couldn't do the math before you got her in? Natalie, get out of here. You have your time. Shit.
So they settled on Claire Danes.
Oh, My So-Called Life. That's fucking gross.
Are you guys, did y'all watch My So-Called Life?
I knew it was cool, but I didn't watch it.
Coda?
Same.
Yeah.
I watched Little Women.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't she the one that dies?
I haven't seen
Spoiler.
Joe.
Okay.
I don't even know Little Women. Yeah, my so-called life ran for 19 episodes in 1994. Critical hit, but it was canceled. She was in the Gillian Armstrong Little Women. She was in Jodie Foster's Home for the Holidays. This Romeo and Juliet was a big hit, but her movie career never really took off. I think the biggest swing was Terminator 3, where she's the female lead in that. But basically, her career kind of stalled up until Homeland in 2011.
Yeah. She seemed like she came out of nowhere. But I loved her from this movie.
Yeah. And I think she's great in this movie. And I generally like her in everything. I watched the first season of Homeland again last year. And let me tell you, that thing does not held up well.
Really?
She does. She's great. Yeah. So that's Romeo plus Juliet.
Same with Julia Stiles.
What, that she like drops off the map?
Oh yeah, that she dropped off the map and then like started coming back.
Yeah, it's like women in Hollywood. You got the stone on your hand that starts glowing when you reach age like 23. Like, okay, no, you're washed up. Get out of movies until it's time for you to play the old mother or the best friend.
I don't love Julia Stiles. That's a topic for another conversation.
Okay, we'll talk Julia Stiles next week.